Hello everyone, my name is Zoe, and first off, I have a confession to make. I am currently thinking of many ways for getting myself out of this current speech. I think my safest bet would be to run off stage right now with absolutely no explanation and leave you all demanding your money back. But, sadly and unfortunately, I can't actually do that. But you may be wondering, what is it about this particular speech that is filling me with an absolute fear and dread? Well, to answer this, let's first revisit today's TED Talk theme again, which is overcoming barriers. When I first started brainstorming this current speech for today, I couldn't think of a single barrier that I felt all of my audience members could potentially relate to. And that started to worry me, because let's be honest here, I don't think many of you are really interested in the personal life of a caffeine-driven, sleep-deprived American Chinese IB student like myself. I started thinking and coming up with these random speech ideas. For example, maybe should I talk about the Asian and Western cultural divide? Should I talk about barriers that I face throughout my learning and education? Or maybe I can think outside the box and talk about a literal physical barrier, like scaling a mountain or something. Essentially, to phrase this sudden panic that I felt, this existential crisis that I underwent in better terms, I was unconsciously growing fearful of this concept known as Sonder. Now, some of you may not really know what this means, and that's okay because it's actually a relatively new word. The word Sonder was first developed in 2012 by John Koenig under his project known as the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. So basically, this project aimed to create new words for emotions that currently lack them. So John, he described Sonder as the profound understanding that everyone, including strangers, has a life as complex as one's own, that they are constantly living despite one's awareness of it. To phrase this in simpler English, this basically just means that all of us have our unique obstacles and barriers that we are always going through. When I started to really grasp at this concept, I started fearing that my experiences and my stories that I may want to present today were unworthy of this grand stage. Would it really matter in the grand scheme of things whether or not I tried to extract meaning or purpose from the things I've done? What purpose would there be in me standing upstage today, rambling on about some barrier I went through, if none of you could relate to me? If none of you could actually extract any meaning? And so, chew on this, I will say this once and very slowly, I started my journey of overcoming the barrier of having absolutely no barriers I want to talk about. Now, before I deconstruct this and kind of explain what I mean here, I actually think that this is the common similarity I was initially trying to look for, the common barrier that we might all relate to. So now going back to what that really meant. I am sure that you, all of you, have at least once in a discussion held your tongue and didn't want to voice your opinions, your ideas. You had those words stuck in your throat because you suddenly deemed it unworthy and unnecessary to share to a wider audience, to a wider group. Sound familiar? Well, you're not alone there. Because other than when I was crafting the speech, I encountered the same problem again when I was responding to a few summer application prompts this year. One of those prompts was, what person or event has changed you the most in your life? My initial responses to this, I felt, were very generic. I could talk about my parents, my teachers, but these were things that essentially really anyone could talk about. And so I had to consider, how can I make my application stand out to not sound naive or cliche or not to have it totally unworthy in the eyes of the admissions officer? But these were questions that I didn't really want to consider because I knew the answer was that I was too afraid. I was too afraid of digging deep down within myself to produce something unique, to produce something that was personal and raw, because I didn't think I'd be able to do so. I had essentially constructed this barrier between me and the world. Well, admissions officers in this case, but we can also consider them as the world. Between me and the world, and thereby also an obstacle between myself, because I didn't want to explore these vulnerabilities that I may or may not have. I didn't want to explore how I could write an application that could be criticized or picked apart by other people, by an audience. But as I am nearing the end of this anecdote, I realized, and I hope all of you have realized, that I succeeded in doing just that in the past 1 or 2 minutes. I have just talked about a vulnerability and personal fear of mine, and essentially it hasn't really been the end of the world for me. Granted, yes, I am feeling a bit uncomfortable right now, but that's okay. And so, essentially, there's no such thing as an obstacle or idea or experience that is too cliche, that is too redundant, that is too overdone, because it holds value as long as it holds value for yourself. It doesn't matter what other people say, it doesn't matter how they view you, because truth be told, absolutely nothing and absolutely everything in this world will matter in the end. Our lives, they are ephemeral. We are only truly defined in one particular moment of time by our shortcomings, by our growth, our experiences, our successes, the barriers that we may or may not have been able to overcome, and essentially our failures. It is these traits that makes us who we are, that makes us human, and that makes us one of the most intelligent species. And so, what I want to say today is that as living proof, there is no such reason to fear and to feel embarrassed about sharing the failures that you've been able to overcome, sharing the failures, the possible successes, the laughter and the joy, but also the sorrows that you've experienced in your life. Because even if your audience is not able to relate, at least you've developed a purpose and meaning for yourself. And so to conclude, I would like to say that I am glad I was able to overcome this personal barrier and share this relatively small and personal experience and realization I've had with all of you. Thank you.